Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Podcast, your favorite podcast dedicated to helping you learn and improve your English in ways that are both practical and fun. My name is Adam, and I am so thrilled to be here with you today. As always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Julia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to share tips and insights that can make your English learning journey more enjoyable and effective. Whether you're just starting out or you've been learning English for a while, we're here to guide and support you every step of the way.
That's right, Julia. Today's topic is something that many English learners overlook, but is absolutely essential for effective communication. We're going to dive deep into how to use body language while speaking English. This is a fascinating and practical subject that can really make a difference in how you connect with others when you're speaking the language.
Yes, Adam. And it's such an important topic because communication is not only about the words we say. In fact, studies show that over half of our communication is nonverbal. That means things like your posture, facial expressions, gestures, and even your tone of voice can speak louder than your actual words. This is especially important when you're speaking a second language like English because your body language can help fill in any gaps and make your message clearer and more engaging.
Exactly, Julia. For many learners, the focus is usually on grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation, which are, of course, very important. However, they often forget to pay attention to how they physically present themselves while speaking. For instance, if you're saying something confidently in English but your body language suggests nervousness or hesitation, people might focus more on how you look than what you're actually saying.
That's such a great point, Adam. On the other hand, when your body language is open and confident, it not only helps others understand and connect with you better, but it also boosts your own confidence while speaking. For example, something as simple as maintaining eye contact or using a natural smile can make you appear more approachable and comfortable, even if your English isn't perfect yet.
Absolutely. Let's think about a real-life situation to illustrate this. Imagine you're introducing yourself to a group of new people, maybe at work or in a social setting. If you're standing tall, smiling warmly, and making eye contact while saying, "Hi, my name is Adam. I'm so happy to meet you," your body language shows that you're confident and friendly. But if you're looking at the floor, fidgeting with your hands, or speaking in a very quiet voice, people might get the impression that you're nervous or unsure of yourself, even if your words are perfect.
Exactly, Adam. That's why understanding and practicing good body language is such an essential skill for English learners. It's not just about speaking the language, it's about expressing yourself fully and making a strong impression. And the great thing is, anyone can learn to improve their body language with a little practice and awareness.
That's so true. So, in today's episode, we're going to cover everything you need to know about using body language effectively while speaking English. We'll talk about why it matters, explore some key elements of positive body language, share practical tips and exercises, and even discuss how cultural differences can influence nonverbal communication.
We'll also do a fun role-playing activity later in the podcast to show you exactly how good body language can change the way people perceive your words. So, stick with us, because this is going to be a really valuable and interesting episode.
Yes, you definitely don't want to miss it. Let's dive right in and start exploring how body language can enhance your English-speaking skills and make you a more confident and effective communicator. Let's start by exploring why body language plays such a crucial role in communication, especially when speaking a second language like English. Now, many of you might be wondering, why should I focus on body language when I'm trying to improve my English-speaking skills? Well, the answer is simple, but incredibly important. Body language is a universal form of communication that works alongside your spoken words to help convey your message more effectively. When you use gestures, maintain eye contact, or smile while speaking, it reinforces the meaning of your words and makes it easier for others to understand you. In some cases, body language can even fill in gaps where your vocabulary might fall short, acting as a bridge between what you're trying to say and what the listener needs to hear. When we communicate, Especially in face-to-face interactions, people don't just listen to the words we say. They're also paying attention to how we say them, how we move, and how we look while we're speaking. For instance, if you're explaining something confidently, but your body is stiff, your arms are crossed, and you're avoiding eye contact, the listener might feel that you're uncertain or disconnected from your message. On the other hand, when your body language aligns with the words you're speaking, like standing tall, using open hand gestures, and maintaining steady eye contact, it creates a sense of trust and clarity that makes your communication much more effective.
That's absolutely right, Adam. In fact, let's dive deeper into the difference between positive and negative body language and how they can influence the way people perceive you when you're speaking English. Positive body language refers to the non-verbal cues and movements that make you seem confident, approachable, and engaged in the conversation. For example, something as simple as smiling while you speak can make a big difference. A warm and genuine smile not only makes you look friendly, but also puts the listener at ease and makes them more receptive to what you're saying. Another great example of positive body language is maintaining eye contact. Now, this doesn't mean you have to stare at the person constantly, but looking into their eyes for a few seconds at a time while you're speaking shows that you're confident, interested, and paying attention. It creates a connection that words alone can't always achieve. Additionally, open gestures, like using your hands naturally to emphasize a point, can help you appear more expressive and make your message more memorable.
Exactly, Julia. And now let's talk about what happens when body language isn't aligned with your words, what we'd call negative body language. This can unintentionally send the wrong message, even if your spoken English is perfect. For instance, crossing your arms while talking might make you seem defensive, uninterested, or even closed off, even though you might not feel that way at all. Similarly, looking away from the person you're speaking to, whether it's avoiding their eyes or looking down at the ground, can make you appear shy, nervous, or unprepared, even if you're speaking confidently. Another example of negative body language is fidgeting or making excessive movements. Imagine you're giving a presentation or introducing yourself, but you're constantly tapping your foot, playing with your hands, or shifting from side to side. Even if your words are well structured and clear, this kind of body language can distract the listener and make it hard for them to focus on what you're actually saying.
That's so true, Adam. And I think it's important to remember that body language is often subconscious, meaning we're not always aware of the signals we're sending. That's why it's so important to practice and become more mindful of how we're using our body while speaking. For English learners, this can be particularly helpful because positive body language can make you feel more confident, even if you're worried about making mistakes with your words. When you stand tall, smile, and use open gestures, it not only makes you look more confident, but also tricks your brain into feeling more confident as well.
Absolutely, Julia. To sum up this point, body language is like the secret ingredient that enhances your overall communication. It works hand in hand with your spoken words to make your message clearer, more engaging, and more memorable. By focusing on positive body language, you can build better connections, make a stronger impression, and feel more comfortable speaking English in any situation, whether it's a casual conversation with friends or a formal presentation at work.
That's such a great way to put it, Adam. And as we move forward in this episode, we'll explore some practical tips and exercises to help our listeners practice and improve their body language. But before we get to that, I'd encourage everyone listening to take a moment to think about their own body language. Ask yourself, do I smile when I talk? Do I maintain eye contact? Do I use my hands naturally? Or do I keep them stiff by my sides? Becoming aware of these small details is the first step toward mastering the art of using body language effectively while speaking English.
Great advice, Julia. Remember, improving your body language doesn't happen overnight, but with practice, patience, and awareness, it can become a powerful tool that complements your English speaking skills and helps you communicate more confidently. Let's move on to discuss the specific elements of body language and how you can start incorporating them into your daily conversations. Now that we've discussed why body language is so important in communication, let's take a closer look at the key elements of body language and how they can help you become a more confident and effective English speaker. Body language is made up of many different components, and today we're going to focus on 3 of the most important ones: eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures. Each of these elements plays a unique role in how we communicate and can significantly enhance the way people perceive you when you're speaking English. Let's start with eye contact, which is one of the simplest yet most powerful forms of nonverbal communication. When you maintain good eye contact during a conversation, it shows that you're confident, attentive, and genuinely interested in the person you're speaking to. Eye contact helps establish a connection between you and the listener, making your words more impactful and memorable. For example, if you're introducing yourself in English, looking directly at the person you're speaking to for a few seconds at a time shows that you're comfortable and focused on the conversation. On the other hand, avoiding eye contact can make you appear nervous or distracted, even if your words are perfectly spoken. The key to effective eye contact is balance. You don't need to stare at someone continuously because that might feel uncomfortable for both you and the other person. Instead, aim for natural, intermittent eye contact. Look into the person's eyes when you're making an important point or asking a question, and then occasionally glance away to avoid seeming too intense.
Exactly, Adam. And for beginners, practicing eye contact can feel a bit awkward at first, especially if it's not common in your culture. One simple tip is to focus on the area between the person's eyes if looking directly into their eyes feels intimidating. It still gives the impression of eye contact without making you feel uncomfortable. You can also practice in front of a mirror or with a friend to get used to maintaining eye contact while speaking. Now, let's move on to facial expressions, which are another essential element of body language. Our faces are incredibly expressive and can communicate emotions and intentions much more quickly than words alone. For instance, a genuine smile can instantly make you appear approachable, friendly, and confident, even if you're still learning English. On the other hand, a blank or tense expression might make you seem uninterested or unsure of yourself. Facial expressions are particularly important when you're trying to convey emotion in your speech. Imagine you're telling a story in English about something funny that happened to you. If your face lights up with a smile or you laugh along with the story, it draws the listener in and makes the experience more engaging. But if your expression doesn't match the tone of your story, it can create a disconnect and make your words feel less authentic.
That's a great point, Julia. And just like with eye contact, using facial expressions effectively is all about being natural and authentic. For example, when you're happy or excited about something, let that emotion show on your face. If you're discussing a serious topic, your expression should reflect that as well. This alignment between your words and your facial expressions helps build trust and makes your communication feel more genuine. The third key element we want to talk about is gestures, which are the movements you make with your hands, arms, or even your head to emphasize what you're saying. Gestures are a fantastic way to add energy and clarity to your speech. They can help highlight important points, explain complex ideas, and make your communication more dynamic and engaging. For example, if you're giving directions in English, using your hands to point or mimic the movements can make it much easier for the listener to understand. Similarly, if you're describing the size of something, using your hands to show big or small can add a visual element to your words and make your message clearer.
That's so true, Adam. But it's also important to remember that gestures should feel natural and not forced. Some learners worry about what to do with their hands while speaking, which can lead to stiff or awkward movements. A simple tip is to keep your hands relaxed by your sides when you're not using them, and then bring them up naturally when you want to emphasize a point. You can also watch native English speakers in videos or movies to observe how they use gestures and try to mimic their movements during practice. Let me give a few real-life examples of how these elements work together. Imagine you're at a job interview and you're asked to introduce yourself. If you maintain steady eye contact with the interviewer, smile warmly as you speak, and use open hand gestures to emphasize your key points, you'll come across as confident and prepared. But if you avoid eye contact, keep a blank expression, and have your hands stuffed in your pockets, it might send the wrong message, even if your English is flawless. Another example is during a group discussion. If you're sharing your opinion and use gestures to highlight your main ideas, nod your head slightly to show agreement, and smile to acknowledge other people's contributions. It creates a positive and collaborative atmosphere. These small nonverbal cues can make a big difference in how your message is received.
Absolutely, Julia. And it's worth mentioning that gestures and facial expressions can vary between cultures. So it's a good idea to observe and adapt to the norms of the people you're communicating with. For instance, in some cultures, maintaining strong eye contact is seen as a sign of confidence, while in others, it might feel too intense. Understanding these differences can help you use body language more effectively in different settings. To sum up, the key elements of body language, eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures, are powerful tools that can enhance your English-speaking skills and make your communication more impactful. By practicing these elements, you'll not only feel more confident, but also leave a positive impression on the people you interact with.
That's such a great summary, Adam. And for our listeners, don't worry if these skills don't come naturally at first. Like any aspect of learning English, mastering body language takes time, practice, and patience. Start small, focus on one element at a time, and gradually build your confidence. You'll be amazed at how much of a difference it makes in your overall communication.
Now that we've covered the key elements of body language, eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures, let's dive into some practical tips that you can start using right away to improve how you present yourself while speaking English. Remember, your body language doesn't just support what you're saying. It also influences how people perceive you and how confident you feel during a conversation. By paying attention to small but impactful details, you can make your communication more effective and leave a positive impression on anyone you're speaking with. One of the first and most important tips is to stand or sit up straight and avoid slouching. Good posture is the foundation of confident body language. When you stand tall with your shoulders back and your head held high, you immediately project confidence and self-assurance, even before you say a single word. For example, imagine you're giving a presentation in English. If you're standing upright, with your feet firmly planted and your body open, it shows the audience that you're prepared and ready to engage. On the other hand, if you're slouching or shifting your weight nervously, it can make you appear uncertain or distracted, no matter how well you speak. Another essential tip is to use open gestures to appear more approachable and engaged. Open gestures involve keeping your arms relaxed and your hands visible, rather than crossing your arms or hiding your hands in your pockets. For instance, when you're introducing yourself or explaining something in English, using hand movements to emphasize your points can make your message clearer and more dynamic. Open gestures also signal that you're comfortable and willing to connect with your audience, which is especially important in situations like interviews, meetings, or social gatherings.
That's absolutely right, Adam. And for beginners, it's important to remember that body language doesn't have to be overly dramatic or exaggerated to be effective. Small intentional changes can make a big difference. For example, if you're speaking to a group, try spreading your hands slightly outward when making a point, as if you're inviting the audience to understand and agree with you. This gesture is simple but powerful, as it conveys openness and enthusiasm. If you're worried about what to do with your hands when you're not using them to gesture, here's a practical tip. Let them rest naturally by your sides or place them lightly on a table if you're sitting. Avoid fidgeting with objects, crossing your arms tightly, or clenching your hands, as these habits can make you seem nervous or closed off. Instead, Focus on keeping your movements relaxed and intentional.
Exactly, Julia. And for those who are just starting out, developing good body language habits doesn't have to be complicated. One of the easiest ways to practice is to use a mirror. Stand in front of a mirror and practice speaking in English while paying attention to your posture, gestures, and facial expressions. Watch how your body moves as you talk and make small adjustments until you feel more natural and confident. For example, you can practice introducing yourself or answering common questions in English while observing your body language. This not only helps you become more aware of how you present yourself, but also allows you to make improvements in real time. Another effective exercise is to record yourself speaking. Use your phone or a camera to film yourself giving a short speech or practicing a conversation in English. Once you've finished, watch the video to analyze your body language. Look for areas where you can improve, such as standing taller, making more eye contact, or using clearer gestures. Recording yourself is also a great way to track your progress over time and build your confidence.
I love those tips, Adam. And here's another practical exercise that can help you improve your body language while also boosting your English speaking skills. Practice with a friend or partner. If you have someone who can give you honest feedback, ask them to observe your body language during a conversation or practice session. They can point out things you might not notice, like whether you're fidgeting too much, avoiding eye contact, or looking too serious. If you don't have someone to practice with, don't worry. There are still plenty of ways to work on your body language. For example, you can watch videos of confident speakers or presenters and try to mimic their body language. Pay attention to how they stand, how they use their hands, and how their facial expressions match their words. Then, practice incorporating those techniques into your own speaking style.
That's a fantastic idea, Julia. Observing and learning from others is a powerful way to improve. And while it's important to be aware of your body language, it's equally important to stay authentic. Your gestures, expressions, and movements should feel natural to you. If something feels forced or unnatural, it can distract from your message rather than enhancing it. One more tip I'd like to share is to focus on your breathing. Good posture and relaxed body language often start with steady, controlled breathing. When you take deep breaths and maintain a calm rhythm, it not only helps you feel more composed, but also prevents you from fidgeting or appearing tense. Before you start speaking, take a moment to breathe deeply, stand tall, and center yourself. This simple habit can make a big difference in how you come across to others.
That's so true, Adam. And for our listeners, remember that improving your body language is a journey, not something you need to perfect overnight. Start with 1 or 2 tips that resonate with you and practice them consistently. Over time, these small changes will become second nature, and you'll find yourself feeling more confident and engaging whenever you speak English. To sum up, using body language effectively is about being aware of your posture, gestures, and expressions, and making small intentional adjustments to enhance your communication. Whether it's standing tall, using open gestures, or practicing in front of a mirror, every step you take brings you closer to becoming a confident and impactful English speaker.
Absolutely, Julia. And as we always say, the most important thing is to keep practicing and stay positive. Body language is a skill, just like learning English, and with time and effort, you'll see amazing results. As we continue our discussion, let's focus on a very important aspect of body language: how it changes depending on the situation you're in. Body language isn't a one-size-fits-all tool. It can, and should, be adapted to suit the context of the conversation. Whether you're speaking English in a formal setting, like a job interview, or in an informal situation, like chatting with friends, understanding how to adjust your body language can make a huge difference in how your message is received. Let's start with formal settings. Imagine you're attending a job interview where the atmosphere is professional, and first impressions matter a lot. In this kind of environment, your body language should convey confidence, respect, and attentiveness. Sitting up straight, maintaining steady eye contact, and offering a firm handshake are all examples of positive body language that work well in formal settings. For instance, when answering a question, you could slightly lean forward to show engagement and interest. At the same time, avoid fidgeting, crossing your arms, or looking away, as these behaviors might make you appear nervous or uninterested. Now, compare that with an informal setting, like having a casual conversation with a group of friends. Here, your body language can be more relaxed and open. Instead of sitting upright all the time, you might lean back slightly, use more expressive hand gestures, or laugh freely to match the tone of the conversation. Informal settings allow for more flexibility, but it's still important to stay mindful of your nonverbal cues. For example, turning your body toward the person speaking and nodding occasionally shows that you're paying attention, even in a relaxed environment.
That's a great point, Adam, and it's fascinating how our body language naturally adjusts to different situations without us even realizing it sometimes. But being intentional about these adjustments can help us communicate more effectively, especially when we're speaking in a language that isn't our first. One important factor to consider when adapting your body language is cultural differences. Body language that's considered polite or friendly in one culture might not be interpreted the same way in another. For example, in some cultures, maintaining direct eye contact during a conversation is seen as a sign of confidence and respect. However, in other cultures, too much eye contact might come across as aggressive or impolite. So, if you're speaking English with someone from a different cultural background, it's always a good idea to be aware of these nuances. Let me give you a practical example. In many Western cultures, smiling is often used to show friendliness and approachability, even when meeting someone for the first time. But in some cultures, people might smile less in formal situations because they believe it's more professional to appear serious. Similarly, gestures like giving a thumbs up or nodding can mean different things depending on the cultural context. While a thumbs up might indicate approval in one place, it could have a completely different meaning somewhere else.
That's so true, Julia. These cultural variations remind us how powerful and complex body language can be. When learning English, it's not just about mastering the words. It's also about understanding the nonverbal cues that go along with them. And while it might seem overwhelming at first, paying attention to the context and observing how others use body language can help you navigate these differences more easily. One tip for adjusting your body language in different situations is to start by observing the people around you. If you're in a formal setting, watch how others are sitting, gesturing, or using eye contact, and try to match their tone. This doesn't mean you have to imitate them exactly, but aligning your body language with the general atmosphere of the room can help you fit in and communicate more effectively. In informal settings, you might notice that people are more expressive with their gestures or relaxed in their posture. Joining in with similar non-verbal cues can make your interactions feel more natural and enjoyable. For instance, if you're sharing a joke with friends, letting your facial expressions and gestures reflect your emotions can enhance the humor and make the moment more engaging.
That's a fantastic strategy, Adam. And I think another helpful tip is to practice switching between formal and informal body language so that it becomes more natural over time. You could start by role-playing different scenarios at home. For example, practice sitting and speaking as if you're in a job interview, focusing on maintaining professional posture and using subtle gestures. Then switch to a more casual setting, like pretending you're at a coffee shop with friends, and allow yourself to relax your movements and expressions. It's also worth noting that while body language is an important part of communication, it should never feel forced. Whether you're in a formal or informal situation, the goal is to use body language that feels authentic to you. Forced or exaggerated gestures can sometimes come across as awkward or insincere, so it's better to focus on small, meaningful adjustments that enhance your overall communication.
That's excellent advice, Julia. And for our listeners, the key takeaway here is that body language isn't static. It's dynamic and adaptable. By becoming more aware of how you carry yourself in different situations and making conscious adjustments, you can build stronger connections and communicate more effectively in English. Remember, Whether you're in a formal meeting or a casual hangout, your body language can either support your words or send a completely different message. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to strike the right balance for each situation.
Absolutely, Adam. And to wrap up this section, let's remind our listeners that body language is a skill that grows with practice and observation. Keep experimenting, stay open to feedback, and don't be afraid to make mistakes along the way. Every effort you make brings you closer to becoming a confident and effective communicator in English.
Let's take a moment to address some of the most common mistakes people make when it comes to body language, especially when they are learning English, and how these mistakes can have a negative impact on communication. Often, these small mistakes can unintentionally create barriers and affect how others perceive us, so it's important to be aware of them and work to avoid them in everyday conversations. These mistakes may not seem like a big deal, but they can actually play a major role in how confident, engaged, and clear we come across to others, which is especially important when trying to communicate in a new language.
Exactly, Adam. It's easy to overlook the power of body language, but it can have a huge effect on the way we are understood and how people respond to us. One of the most common body language mistakes that many people make is crossing their arms during a conversation. It's a gesture that can unintentionally communicate a feeling of defensiveness or even disinterest, which can make the other person feel like you're not fully engaged in the conversation. Even if you're just feeling cold or thinking deeply, crossing your arms might give the wrong impression. Instead, try to keep your arms relaxed at your sides, or rest them comfortably on the table if you're sitting. This simple change can make a huge difference in how open and approachable you appear.
That's a great point, Julia. Crossing your arms can make it seem like you're closing yourself off from the conversation, which is definitely not the message you want to send, especially when you're trying to build confidence in speaking English. Now, let's move on to another common mistake, which is avoiding eye contact. Eye contact plays such a critical role in communication because it signals attentiveness, respect, and confidence. When you avoid looking at someone's eyes during a conversation, it can give the impression that you're either uninterested, shy, or lacking in self-assurance. While it's true that cultural differences exist in how much eye contact is considered appropriate, in most situations, maintaining steady, comfortable eye contact is a sign that you're actively listening and engaged in the discussion. Of course, you don't want to stare at the person without blinking. That can be intimidating. But you should aim for a relaxed gaze that lets the other person know you're fully present.
Right, Adam. And don't forget, excessive eye contact can also make people feel uncomfortable. It's all about finding that balance where you're showing interest without overwhelming the other person. A helpful tip is to look at their eyes for a few seconds and then let your gaze naturally shift to other parts of their face or body. This way, you're not staring, but still demonstrating engagement. Another mistake people often make, especially when they're nervous, is not using enough facial expressions while speaking. When you speak, your face should reflect the emotions behind the words you're saying. If you're telling a funny story, for example, your face should show happiness, excitement, or even amusement. If you're discussing something serious, your facial expression should reflect concern or focus. Without these matching facial expressions, your words might come across as flat or robotic, and this can confuse or disengage your listener. It's really important to remember that our faces communicate a lot, even when we're not saying anything at all.
Absolutely, Julia. The face is one of the most expressive parts of the body, and it's essential that it aligns with the message you're trying to send. When you express yourself naturally with your face, you help make your words feel more genuine and easier for the listener to connect with. Now, let's talk about slouching, which is another common body language mistake that people often make, particularly when they're feeling tired, nervous, or even a bit self-conscious. Slouching can make you appear uninterested, unenergetic, or unsure of yourself. When you slouch, it's like you're closing yourself off from the conversation, and it can even affect how confident you feel. To avoid this, remember to stand or sit up straight, with your shoulders back, and your head held high. This simple adjustment can make you appear more confident and open, and it also helps you project your voice more effectively, which is especially important when speaking English.
That's such a good tip, Adam. Slouching not only impacts how others perceive you, but it also affects your own feelings of confidence. Standing or sitting up straight can help you feel more energetic and assertive. Another mistake that often goes unnoticed is speaking too quietly or too loudly. When you speak too quietly, it can be difficult for people to hear you clearly, which might give the impression that you're unsure or lack confidence. On the other hand, speaking too loudly can make you come across as aggressive or overly intense. The key here is finding a comfortable volume. You want to speak loud enough so that people can easily hear and understand you, but not so loudly that it feels like you're shouting. Pay attention to how others react to your volume and adjust as needed.
Exactly, Julia. It's all about striking that balance. And while we're talking about the tone of voice, it's important to be aware of monotone speech, speaking in a flat, unchanging way. When your voice doesn't vary in pitch or tone, it can sound like you're bored or uninterested, even if that's not your intention. It's important to inject some variety into your tone, especially when you're making important points or telling stories. Adding excitement or emphasis through your voice can help convey your message more effectively and make your speech more engaging.
That's right, Adam. A monotone voice can make a conversation feel like it's dragging, so don't be afraid to use your voice to add color and energy to your words. Remember, when you speak with expression, whether it's through your tone, your facial expressions, or your gestures, you make the conversation more lively and engaging for the listener. It shows that you care about what you're saying and makes the interaction much more enjoyable.
To wrap up, body language is not just about what we say. It's also about how we say it and how we present ourselves to others. By being aware of these common mistakes, like crossing arms, avoiding eye contact, or speaking in a monotone, you can start making small changes that will have a big impact on your communication. The more you practice positive body language, the more natural it will feel, and the better you'll become at expressing yourself clearly and confidently in English.
Absolutely, Adam. And remember, body language is a skill that takes time to develop, so don't be hard on yourself if you don't get everything perfect right away. Just keep practicing, and over time, you'll notice how much more effective and confident you become in your communication.
Well said, Julia. So listeners, we encourage you to take these tips to heart and pay attention to your body language in your daily conversations. With a little practice, you'll start to see improvements in how you're understood and how comfortable you feel when speaking English.
And that's what it's all about. Feeling confident, comfortable, and ready to communicate with anyone. Keep practicing, and remember that every step forward brings you closer to becoming a more confident English speaker.
Let's now explore how body language can actually improve your fluency in English. This might sound a bit surprising at first, but believe me, body language plays a crucial role in how fluent and natural you seem when speaking. When you use your body to support your speech, it creates a more dynamic and confident communication style, which helps not only in conveying your message more clearly, but also in making you feel more at ease. Think of body language as an extension of your words. It works in tandem with what you say, helping you express ideas more vividly and connecting with your listener in a more personal way.
Exactly, Adam. Body language can fill in the gaps in your speech and help communicate your emotions and intentions even when you're not using words. For example, imagine you're giving a presentation or telling a story, and you're using expressive hand gestures or shifting your posture to reflect your excitement. Even if you're still working on your vocabulary or grammar, these physical movements help you convey a sense of enthusiasm and energy, making your message feel more authentic and engaging. This can give you confidence, knowing that your listener is understanding you, even if your English isn't perfect yet.
That's a great point, Julia. And you'll find that when you speak English with confidence, your fluency will naturally improve. When you feel relaxed and open, you're more likely to speak more fluidly and without hesitation. Your body language can help relax you too. For instance, if you stand or sit up straight and breathe deeply, It will signal to your brain that you're confident and in control, which in turn makes it easier to speak smoothly and without stumbling over words. On the other hand, when you're nervous and hunched over, you might feel more tense, which could cause you to pause or struggle to find the right words.
Absolutely, Adam. It's all connected. You might not realize it, but your posture and gestures influence how comfortable you feel and how effectively you express yourself. When you make a conscious effort to use good body language, like standing tall with an open posture or using natural gestures, it sends a message to both yourself and your listener that you're confident and capable. This helps reduce anxiety, and as a result, you can focus more on the content of what you're saying rather than worrying about making mistakes in your English.
And there's also the element of rhythm that body language brings to your speech. Just like the way you vary your tone, pitch, and speed when you speak, your body can naturally match these changes with movements that keep the conversation flowing. When you speak too quickly or too slowly without any accompanying body language, your words might seem robotic or flat. But when you use your hands to emphasize a point, lean forward to show interest, or even raise your eyebrows to express surprise, you add a natural rhythm that mirrors the flow of conversation, which can make you sound more fluent and conversational.
That's such a powerful point. The rhythm of your speech and body language together creates a more dynamic and engaging experience for both you and your listener. Think about how, when you're having a conversation with a friend, you might lean in when something is exciting or use your hands to illustrate a point. Those little movements give life to the conversation and help make your speech feel more natural and less forced. When learning English, incorporating these elements into your communication can help you feel more connected to the language and more in tune with how to express yourself fluidly.
Exactly, Julia. And body language can also help with memory retention. This is something that's often overlooked, but studies have shown that when you physically express what you're learning, whether it's through gestures, mimicking actions, or facial expressions, it can help you remember new words and phrases more easily. This is because our brains associate movements and actions with specific ideas or concepts. So, next time you learn a new word or phrase in English, try to physically act it out or incorporate a gesture with it. For example, if you're learning the word happy, you might smile or raise your hands in excitement. This physical association will make the words stick in your memory more effectively.
Yes, that's a fantastic idea, Adam. When you link words with actions, it creates stronger connections in your brain, which helps with long-term retention. In fact, this technique is often used by language teachers and learners to remember vocabulary. It's a simple but effective way to reinforce your learning. So, as you practice your English, remember that every time you use a word or phrase with a gesture or facial expression, you're helping to solidify that word in your memory.
Another benefit of combining body language with language learning is nonverbal communication. Sometimes, especially as a beginner, it's not always about speaking perfectly. If you make a mistake, but you use good body language, your listener is more likely to understand the meaning of your message and feel more positive about your communication. For example, if you say something incorrectly but quickly gesture to clarify or use facial expressions to show you're joking or emphasizing a point, it can help fill in any gaps and make your message clear. The key is to use your body language as a tool to back up your spoken words and help convey your message even when your vocabulary is limited.
That's such a great tip, Adam. The beauty of body language is that it transcends language barriers. Even if you don't have all the right words, your listener can still understand the emotion or intent behind what you're saying based on your facial expressions, gestures, and overall body posture. It gives you that extra confidence, knowing that you can communicate effectively even when you're still improving your English.
Exactly, Julia. And one last point I'd like to mention is that practicing body language can actually speed up your language learning process. When you start to integrate body language into your English practice, it encourages you to focus on the message you want to convey, rather than obsessing over every single word or grammar rule. It also helps you feel more comfortable in conversations, which in turn leads to more practice and better fluency. The more you engage your body as part of your communication, the more natural it will feel to express yourself in English.
Absolutely, Adam. When body language becomes a natural part of your English practice, you'll find that you speak with more confidence and ease. It can actually help you overcome some of the challenges that come with learning a new language, like hesitation or fear of making mistakes. So, listeners, remember that body language isn't just a side note. It's an essential tool in becoming a more confident and fluent English speaker.
All right, listeners, we're coming to an exciting part of our podcast today, our Q&A session. This is where we get to address some of the fantastic questions that have been submitted by our audience. We've received some interesting ones about body language, and Julia and I are really looking forward to discussing them with you. So, Julia, let's dive into the first question.
Absolutely, Adam. Our first question comes from Samantha in Brazil. She asks, how can I use body language to show confidence when I'm nervous about speaking English? Now, that's a great question because a lot of us experience nervousness when speaking a new language, especially in situations like job interviews or public speaking. Body language can actually help reduce that nervousness by making you appear more confident, even if you don't feel 100% confident on the inside.
Exactly, Julia. Samantha, one way to show confidence through body language is to focus on your posture. Stand or sit up straight, but not rigidly. Keep your shoulders back, which will naturally make you feel taller and more assured. When you open up your posture, avoid crossing your arms or hunching over. It sends a non-verbal signal to others that you are approachable, calm, and in control. If you keep your arms open and your head held high, it will create the impression that you are confident, even if you're feeling a bit nervous.
Yes, and something as simple as smiling can go a long way. Smiling naturally reduces tension and makes you look friendly and confident. Even if you're unsure about your English, smiling can make your conversation partner more at ease and help you feel more comfortable too. Another important tip is to practice eye contact. Don't stare aggressively, but try to hold eye contact for a few seconds at a time. It shows confidence and helps build a connection with your listener, even if you're unsure about your words.
Absolutely. And it's also important to breathe deeply. When we get nervous, we often forget to breathe properly, which can affect our speech. Take slow, deep breaths to calm your nerves, and this will help you speak more clearly. Julia, do you have any other tips for our listeners on this topic?
Yes. One more thing I'd like to add is visualizing success. Before you even start speaking, take a moment to imagine yourself speaking confidently, using your body language in a way that reflects confidence. Imagine yourself smiling, standing tall, and feeling relaxed. This mental preparation can make a huge difference in how you present yourself and can help reduce anxiety.
Great tips, Julia. So, Samantha, I hope that answers your question. Remember, even if you're feeling nervous, your body language can help you project confidence to others. Keep practicing these techniques, and soon enough, you'll start to feel more confident in yourself as well. Now, moving on to our second question, which comes from John in the United Kingdom. He asks, how can I use body language to make my English conversations more engaging and natural?
That's another excellent question, John. To make your conversations more engaging and natural, you need to connect with your listener. One of the best ways to do this is by using hand gestures while speaking. It doesn't have to be exaggerated, but using simple, natural gestures as you speak can make your conversation feel more lively and expressive. Think of how people move their hands when they are telling a story or emphasizing a point. Gesturing in this way helps emphasize the message you're trying to convey and makes your speech feel less flat and more dynamic.
That's right. Another technique is leaning slightly forward when you're speaking. This shows interest and attentiveness, signaling to your listener that you're engaged in the conversation. On the other hand, if you lean back too much or cross your arms, it can give the impression that you're disinterested. So, staying open and leaning in just a little can help make your conversation more engaging and create a stronger connection with your listener.
Absolutely. Also, don't forget about facial expressions. They can speak volumes. For instance, when you're talking about something exciting, you can raise your eyebrows or widen your eyes to show your enthusiasm. If you're telling a sad story, your face can naturally reflect the emotions, like frowning or softening your eyes. These little changes in your facial expressions will make your speech feel more genuine, and your listener will connect with you on an emotional level.
That's a great point, Julia. To add to that, pausing during your speech and using varying facial expressions will also give your listener time to process what you're saying, and it will make your conversation feel more balanced and dynamic. When you're too quick to speak or don't take a pause, it can make the conversation feel rushed and less natural.
Exactly, Adam. So, John, to sum up, using natural hand gestures, leaning in slightly, and varying your facial expressions can help make your English conversations more engaging and lively. When your body language matches your words, your conversation will feel much more authentic and natural.
Well, we're almost out of time, but we have one more question. This one comes from Lena in Spain. She asks, how do I use body language to improve my understanding of English speakers, especially in fast conversations?
Great question, Lena. When you're listening to fast English, body language can actually help you understand and follow along more easily. First, watch your conversation partner's gestures. People often use hand movements or facial expressions to reinforce what they're saying, and these cues can help you understand the meaning, even if you miss a word or two. If you see someone making a big gesture or showing a certain emotion, it gives you important context for what's being said.
Exactly, Julia. Another tip is to pay attention to the pace of the conversation. When someone speaks quickly, they might still slow down or emphasize certain words or phrases using their body language. Notice if they gesture more strongly or lean forward when making important points. These physical cues can help you catch the key ideas, even if the speed of the conversation is a bit too fast for you.
Right. And one more thing you can do is mirror the body language of the person you're speaking with. If you mirror their gestures or posture subtly, it will not only make the conversation more comfortable, but it will also help you pick up on the rhythm and flow of the conversation. By observing and subtly mimicking their body language, you can improve your listening and understanding of fast English.
Great suggestions, Julia. Lena, I hope that helps. By watching for visual cues and mirroring body language, you can improve both your listening skills and your ability to follow faster conversations.
And that wraps up our Q&A session for today. We want to thank all of our listeners for submitting such great questions. It's been so fun answering them and discussing body language with you all.
Before we wrap up, we want to encourage all of our listeners to continue practicing and engaging with body language while learning English. And we'd love to hear from you. Share your experiences with us. How has body language helped you in your English learning journey?
Yes, absolutely. Feel free to share your stories or any questions you may have about body language in our next podcast episode. We look forward to hearing how you're using body language to enhance your English speaking skills.
That's right. Keep practicing, stay confident, and we'll see you in the next episode of The English Globe.
Take care, everyone, and remember, your body speaks as loudly as your words. Use it to your advantage.
Well, here we are at the end of another insightful episode, and I have to say, today's discussion on body language has been incredibly exciting and informative. To wrap things up, let's take a moment to summarize some of the key points we covered today. First, we learned just how important body language is when it comes to effective communication. It's not just about the words we speak, but also about how we use our body to reinforce those words. Body language, when used properly, can help convey emotions, build connections, and enhance clarity in any conversation. Whether it's maintaining eye contact, using hand gestures, or standing with good posture, your body plays a crucial role in how your message is received. Next, we discussed some essential elements of body language, such as eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures. These simple yet powerful tools can help you appear more confident, approachable, and engaged in any conversation, Remember, when speaking English, making an effort to smile, use open gestures, and keep eye contact will make you come across as more friendly and relatable to your listener.
Absolutely, Adam. I think one of the most valuable takeaways from today is the idea that body language can truly enhance your language learning journey. It's not just about speaking the right words, it's about using your body to help communicate more effectively. So, as we mentioned earlier, practicing body language is an important part of improving your English skills. We also covered some practical tips, such as standing up straight, keeping your hands open, and using your facial expressions to match the emotions you want to convey. These are simple techniques, but when used consistently, they can help you sound and feel more natural in English conversations. Remember, confidence is key. If you feel confident in how you present yourself through your body language, that confidence will also shine through in your speech.
That's right. And don't forget, practice makes perfect. Try out the tips and exercises we discussed, like practicing in front of a mirror or recording yourself. It may feel a bit awkward at first, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll become with using body language to enhance your English communication. The goal is to experiment, observe, and adjust your body language to make your conversations more engaging and effective. One important thing to keep in mind is that body language isn't just about making yourself understood. It's also about making others feel at ease. Whether you're speaking in a formal or informal setting, being mindful of your body language will help build rapport and make your interactions more positive.
Exactly, Adam. And for all of our listeners out there, I really encourage you to continue experimenting with your body language. Don't be afraid to play with it and see what feels most natural for you. Try using more open gestures when you speak. Maintain eye contact, and remember to smile. These simple actions can make a huge difference in how you come across to others, especially when you're speaking English. We all know learning a new language can be challenging, but with body language as your ally, you can enhance your communication skills and feel more confident in any conversation. Whether you're having a chat with a friend or speaking in a more formal setting, using your body to express yourself is a powerful tool that will only improve with practice.
And don't forget, this is just the beginning. There's always more to learn, and body language is something you can keep working on as you progress in your English-speaking journey. In future episodes, we will dive even deeper into more advanced communication strategies, tips for mastering English pronunciation, and more practical ways to improve your speaking skills. We want to make sure you're always learning and growing, so stay tuned for more exciting content. Before we finish today's podcast, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the English Globe. By subscribing, you'll get access to all our future episodes, which are packed with useful information, tips, and exercises to help you improve your English. We're committed to bringing you fresh and practical advice that you can apply in your daily life.
Yes, absolutely. Subscribing to the English Globe is the best way to stay up to date with all our episodes. We've got a lot of exciting content coming your way, from interviews with experts in language learning to discussions on real-life situations where you can practice English. We'll also cover topics like how to navigate social situations, how to improve your listening skills, and how to use English in professional settings. So, if you want to take your English skills to the next level, make sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. And, of course, we'd love to hear from you. If you've tried out some of the body language tips from today's episode, let us know how it's been working for you. You can always share your thoughts and experiences with us on our social media or by leaving a comment on our podcast page.
That's right. We love hearing from our listeners and learning about your experiences with the podcast. Your feedback helps us improve and bring you even better content in the future. So please keep sharing, keep practicing, and don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone.
We'll wrap up today's episode with a quick reminder to always use body language to help express yourself more clearly and confidently when speaking English. Whether it's in a formal setting or a casual conversation, your body can be your greatest tool for connecting with others and leaving a positive impression. Keep practicing, And before you know it, your body language will be an invaluable part of your English communication.
Thanks again for joining us today on the English Podcast. We hope you found this episode helpful and enjoyable. Until next time, keep improving, keep practicing, and remember, your body speaks just as loudly as your words.
Take care, everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode. Keep up the great work, and don't forget to smile while you speak.